Hey there! If you're an ESL student sitting in a classroom right now, or maybe just taking a quick break from memorizing endless vocabulary lists and practicing your pronunciation, I just want to start by acknowledging your hard work. Learning a new language is seriously tough. But have you ever stopped right in the middle of a brutal grammar drill and asked yourself, why this language? Like, why is English the one you're spending hours and hours trying to master? Well, today in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly why English became the undisputed global language of work and what that actually means for your future. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. How English went global, 2. The language of work, 3. The English wage premium, 4. The language of tech, and 5. The hidden social costs.
All right, Section 1. How English went global, from history to today.
So, English definitely didn't become a global powerhouse overnight. It was more like a three-part journey. First, it spread across the globe through British colonization. Then, jumped to the post-World War II era, and the United States experienced this massive economic boom, which really cemented English as the go-to language for international trade and finance. And then finally, the late 20th century hit. The invention of the internet and the massive tech boom, mostly spearheaded by American innovators, caused the global use of English to literally explode.
Thanks to all that historical momentum, English became incredibly deeply embedded in legal, educational, and governmental systems all over the world. Today, long after those colonial periods ended, English is still an official language in 67 different countries. It's basically become a foundational piece of our global infrastructure.
Moving on to Section 2, the language of work, a global standard.
Okay, so the most crucial point here is that English serves as the world's lingua franca. Basically, it acts as the ultimate bridge. For instance, imagine a German company working with global partners in Japan or Brazil. They might actually adopt a strict English-only policy in their offices. Why? Just so they can do business efficiently across borders without needing, an army of translators. It becomes this neutral turf for corporate communication.
And the numbers backing this up are absolutely staggering. Get this. Today, roughly 1 in 4 people on Earth speak English at a useful level. That's an estimated 1.75 billion people. It's this massive, interconnected network that makes English the premier tool for international trade, diplomacy, and global mobility. Literally, by learning English, you're unlocking a network of over 1 billion potential colleagues, clients, and collaborators.
And hey, it's not just about surviving boring corporate meetings. In some high-stakes industries, a common language is literally a matter of life and death. Take aviation. The International Civil Aviation Organization mandates English as their standard language. They have to prevent fatal miscommunications between pilots and air traffic controllers who might be communicating across 5 different countries in a single flight. In that world, safety absolutely depends on everyone understanding the exact same instructions.
Section 3, the English wage premium, or the economics of language.
Let's look at this fascinating mismatch happening in the job market right now. In Latin America, research shows that about 80% of professional job listings require English proficiency, but only about 20% of the region's professionals actually have that skill. That is a massive gap between what employers are begging for and what the workforce can actually provide. And in economics, when demand heavily outweighs supply, while the value shoots way up. Because of this gap, economists have identified what they call the English wage premium. To put that into perspective, a recent survey showed that Brazilian employees who are fluent in English earn up to 160% higher salaries than their peers who only have an intermediate grasp of it. 160%, that's life-changing money. It totally proves that English isn't just another academic subject to pass. It's highly valuable human capital.
And this wage premium is incredibly powerful in certain fields. All that hard work you're putting into learning English, it directly translates to upward economic mobility, especially if you're eyeing fast-growing sectors like international business, tech, or science. Plus, with the massive rise in remote work and digital freelancing, having English in your toolkit lets you compete for high-paying jobs anywhere in the world, literally right from your living room.
All right, Section 4, the language of tech, the code of the future.
So, if you want to build the technology of tomorrow, you really have to speak its language today. The actual syntax of major computer programming languages, we're talking Python, Java, C++, is built heavily on English keywords. Things like if, else, while, and print. Having a basic understanding of English is pretty much mandatory if you want to get into global coding and software development.
Tech pioneer Bill Gates actually summed this up perfectly when he noted that having access to technical documentation in English is absolutely key to staying current. The reality is, most technical manuals, open-source projects, and global developer forums operate in English. If you hit a bug in your code at 2 a.m. and frantically search for a solution, the best answers online are almost always going to be in English. It's essentially the default operating system for global technological innovation.
Finally, Section 5, the hidden social costs, ethics, and inequality.
Now let's take a step back and look at this objectively, because there are hidden costs here. Sociolinguists point to a phenomenon called standard language ideology. Basically, this is a dynamic where society prioritizes and rewards standard English, which can unintentionally sideline native and indigenous languages. It creates a linguistic hierarchy. By making English the ultimate gatekeeper for good jobs and higher education, we risk building severe barriers for folks who just don't have access to quality, well-funded English education. When we objectively weigh these benefits against the drawbacks, it's a pretty complex picture. On the one hand, English offers incredible tools for global collaboration, upward mobility, and access to the latest science. But on the other hand, researchers warn it can seriously worsen the digital divide between wealthy urban centers and poorer rural areas. If high-quality English instruction is only available to those who can afford private tutors, then the language might actually be reinforcing historical class inequalities rather than erasing them.
We're even seeing this play out in the newest tech frontier, artificial intelligence. Studies are showing that generative AI models currently default heavily to standard American English. And researchers are sounding the alarm because these AI tools often perform really poorly when processing minoritized dialects or other language varieties. There's a very real concern that, without careful development, AI could just reproduce old historical biases and slowly erase regional dialects in the digital age.
Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought for your own educational journey. Today, the benefits of learning English are completely undeniable. But as technology evolves, as real-time AI translation becomes flawless, and as other global economies rise, will English remain the ultimate key to the workplace of tomorrow? Or is the global language of work going to look completely different in 20 years? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you open your textbook. Keep crushing it in your studies, and thanks so much for joining me in this explainer to explore the incredible power of the language you're learning today.